बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम।
शुरू अल्लाह के नाम से जो रहमान और रहीम है।
इक़रा बिस्मि रब्बिकल्लज़ी खलक़।
पढ़ो ए नबी अपने रब के नाम के साथ जिसने पैदा किया।
खलक़ल इंसान मिन अलक़।
जमे हुए खून के एक लोथड़े से इंसान की तख्लीक की।
इक़रा व रब्बुकल अकरम।
पढ़ो और तुम्हारा रब बड़ा करीम है।
अल्लज़ी अल्लम बिल क़लम।
जिसने कलम के जरिए से इल्म सिखाया।
अल्लमल इंसान मा लम यअलम।
इंसान को वो इल्म दिया जिसे वो न जानता था।
Assalamu alaikum students. We start our class in the name of Allah who is most merciful and most beneficent. This is class 10 and the period is English. This is fourth video lesson of the first semester final term and this is week number 5. Our today's class lesson, the topic is review of tenses. This topic is probably familiar with you. You people might have studied this in grade 9 also. So that's why we are just going to review all the tenses. So before we start looking at all the tenses one by one, so let me tell you something. How important is it to learn and practice correct usage of tenses? Or what is the basic purpose of the use of tenses? So we know that whenever we talk about something, so there are two aspects to any speech or any written sentence in a language. One is the time. In our writing or in our speech, we tell about the time at which the action has taken place, right? And second is the nature of the action. For example, if I say I get up early in the morning every day, so because of the verb, we know that the time in which this action takes place is present because we are using the present tense verb. And the second, since we are using present indefinite tense or the present verb with or without ses, so it means that this is a repeated action or the action that regularly takes place. So in the same way, if I say, I got up early in the morning yesterday, so this sentence tells us that the time at which the action took place was past because I used the verb got. And it was indefinite, it happened in the past, right? And it was indefinite action. So this is how the tense basically tells us the correct usage of a verb, and it tells us that when an action took place and what was the nature of the action. So in every language, or in most of the languages, there are tenses. So in English there are also 3 basic tenses, and then we have 4 aspects to all the tenses. So the tenses, according to time, we divide them into 3, as you all know. Here is the past, then present and future. Well, in modern grammars, future is not considered as a tense form of the verb, or it's not the tense. It's only traditional grammarian, or for the sake of easiness, we also considered it as a tense. Otherwise, for future, there are certain ways in English language which we can use in order to talk about future actions. All right? So basically, these are the two tenses, past and the present. But for the sake of studies, we will consider future also, just like we consider past and present. So in all, we know that we have simple tense, then we have continuous, and then we have perfect, and then we have perfect continuous. So the same goes true for present and for future. So we have, for past, we have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. For present, we have present simple, present continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. And for future also, we may have future simple, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous. Right? So what you have to learn about the tenses, again, we'll have two aspects to it. One, their structure, how these tenses, or how a sentence is constructed in a particular tense. This is the first thing we need to learn. And second, we need to learn, which is also very important, the accurate usage of the particular tense. That for what action we use present or past or simple or perfect continuous. That also needs to be learned. All right. So we'll begin one by one, and slowly and gradually we'll try to complete all the tenses very briefly, because the time does not allow us to look into the tenses in detail. So let us begin with present. So the first is present simple. Well, in present simple, this tense actually we construct it by using, with subject we use S or ES form of the verb. And then we place object, and then there is extension of the sentence. Well, it depends that either we use S or ES with the verb, or we don't use S or ES form of the verb. It depends on the subject, because the subject, there is a topic in grammar called subject-verb agreement. So the subject agrees with the verb. If the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb has to be plural. Now, if we are using I, you, we, and they, we do not use S or ES with the verb in present simple. With he, she, or it, singular subject, we add S or ES with the verb. So it's unlike noun, where the plural has S or ES. In the case of verb, the singular verb has S or ES. The plural verb does not have S or ES. Right? So, example, I go to school every day, but he goes to school every day. right? So this is affirmative sentence. If we want to make negative, we use do not, right? With verb, with I, we, you and they, and does not with singular subject, he, she, it, or singular noun, we use does not, right? So example, we don't play in the afternoon every day. She doesn't play in the afternoon every day, right? So this is how we make negative. If we want to make questions, if we want to make yes no question, we place do in the beginning of the sentence and does also in this case. For example, do you get up early in the morning, right? Or do they make noise, for example, okay? And does she come on time to school every day? So with he, she, it, or singular noun, for example, does the student complete his work every day? So with student singular, we use does, and if the subject is plural, students, we use do. This is all about the structure of the present simple or present indefinite. Now coming to the use, when do we use present simple? So normally we use it for repeated actions, those actions which are repeated, regular, every day, right? So for repeated actions we use present simple. And what adverbs do we use here in extension? Normally in present simple we use these adverbs. Adverbs, they are called frequency adverbs. For example, daily, sometimes, right? Sometimes, usually, daily, every day. These kind of adverbs, or never, for example, negative adverbs, seldom. These frequency adverbs are used in present simple tense, right? So, for example, we say, sometimes I go to market in the afternoon, right? Or I never tell lie, for example, we say, right? So this is all about present simple. It's very commonly used in our daily conversations, right? In our daily routines. If we want to express our routine work, or if we want to talk about or write about our daily routines, we normally use present simple, right? So let's move on to present continuous. This is also one of the commonly used and very easy to understand present continuous. It is also called as present progressive. Okay, so how do we make it? With subject we use be verb, is or am or are, and then we use ing form of the verb. And if we want to place object, we place it after, and then if there is any extension adverb, we use it in the end. Excuse me. So now how do we decide either we use is or am or are? So with I we normally use am, and with singular subjects he, she, it, we use is, and with plural subjects and you and they, we use are. And then we use ing form of the verb. If you want to make negative, we'll simply place not right? After is MR with ing form of the verb. We place not before ing form of the verb to make it negative. And if you want to make questions, yes, no questions, we'll start with is or am or are. And WH questions, we'll place is MR after WH words like where, when, what, etc. Okay? So, what is the usage? When do we use present continuous? Normally, the actions which are happening right now, which are in progress at the moment. Okay, right now, for example, I am teaching you English. Somebody is working on computers. People are, shopping out there in the market. Okay, some other teachers are teaching in other classes. This all, when we want to express the actions which are in progress right now, we use present continuous. Another usage is the actions which are in progress may not now, but maybe simultaneously. For example, you might say, I am watching a new drama series these days. So you are not watching it now, but maybe in the evenings or these days you are watching it. So you may also use present continuous to express that action. You might say, I am reading a very exciting book these days, right? I am learning some new recipes, how to cook new recipes, right? So all those actions which are happening in current time, you may say, not exactly now, we may also use present continuous to express those actions. This is the second use. The third use is sometimes we express future actions also with the help of present continuous. For example, those actions which are a part of a fixed timetable, okay, in future, we use present continuous to express them. For example, we say the Prime Minister is visiting our city next week. So his visit is a part of a fixed schedule, so we use present continuous to express that action also, right? So this was all about present continuous. Very simple, verb plus ing with is, am or are, right? This you have to remember. And well, if we contrast it with present simple, so you may remember that actions which happen repeatedly, we use present simple for that. And the actions which are in progress, where you want to show progress, then we use present continuous. Okay, this we have to remember. Now let's move on to present perfect. In present perfect, well, this is how the structure is. With subject, we use has or have. With past participle form, or we call it third form of the verb. Okay. And if you want to make negative, we simply place not after has or have. Okay. So, for example, we use with I, we, you, or they. Remember, I is singular, but in grammatical structure it is used like plural, right? So with I, we, you, they, we use have, and with he, she, and it we use has. With singular subjects we use has, with plural subjects we use have. Okay? Now, when do we use present perfect? Well, although this tense expresses past action, but these past actions may have some relationship or some effect or some relation with present. So that's why it is present perfect. For example, you say, he has just arrived at school. So he is still here. So it means he arrived in the past, maybe near past, but still he is here. All right? You say, I have worked for this company for 2 years. That means that you started 2 years ago, but still you are working for this company. Right? Right? And this tense is also used to express actions which are completed in the near past, which are already done. So we use the adverbs. Normally these adverbs are used already. Okay, we use before. Okay, and normally we do not use definite time phrase in present perfect. We use indefinite time words. We don't use yesterday. For example, you cannot say, I have watched a movie yesterday. Right? This will be a wrong sentence. You simply use past simple if you want to use yesterday. Yeah, if you want to say, I have watched this movie before. So with present perfect, normally we use indefinite time word. Before is, indefinite. We don't know when did you watch it. Okay, you just want to say, I have watched it before, right? Or I have already watched this movie. Some of you might say, we have already studied this lesson. Right? So you cannot say we have already or we have studied this lesson last year. Why? Because last year is a definite time word which we use with past simple. So we'll see when we discuss past simple that how in contrast we use past simple and present perfect. There is a difference, of usage between past simple and present perfect. So remember, in present perfect, the action has some link with the present, right? And we do not use definite time words like yesterday, last year, okay? At 8 o'clock, for example, we don't use these definite time words in present perfect. We use these all in past simple. So that's pretty much all about it. If you want to make question, we place has or have in the beginning. For example, have you played a football match yet? So normally in question, the adverb yet is used. Have you completed your work yet? Okay. Have you done your assignments yet? We use this in present perfect. Okay. Well, this is about present perfect. Now let's see present perfect continuous and how it is different from present perfect. Well, present perfect progressive or present perfect continuous, this is how we do use has or have, but we do not use past participle form, rather we use being and present participle or ing form of the verb. Alright. And normally we place the time with since or for, okay, in the end. Again, if you want to make negative, we may add not after has or have. Okay, so I have been preparing for this lesson for almost half an hour, or I have been teaching you this tense for few minutes, for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, so the usage is something that started at any point in the past and it continued till present, and it is expected to remain continuous in future also. So we use present perfect continuous for that, right? For example, you say it has been raining cats and dogs for 2 hours. So that means 2 hours ago this rain started, still it's going on, and it is expected that it will continue for some time, right? So for that action, such actions, we use present perfect continuous. And now since and for, now since we use for point of time. If we refer to the point of time, we use since, and for is used for duration. Duration or period of time. If we refer to a period of time, duration, we use for. For example, for 2 hours, for 1 month, I've been working here for 6 months, all right? And if you want to refer or mention a point of time, we use since. For example, I have been working in this school since October, right? So I started in October, still I'm working, and I'm expected to work, in the future. Okay. So since January, for example, since March, since December, since the beginning of the year, since the early spring, for example. So with all these time expressions, we use since. And for is used for duration, for an hour, for a month, okay, like this. Okay, so this is all about present perfect continuous. Okay, well, the difference between present perfect continuous and present perfect is that in present perfect the action has completed. Okay, I have done my work, I have taught this lesson to my class, I finished it, all right? But if I say I have been teaching this, it means still it is going on, right? And how is it different from present continuous, from present progressive, where we say I am teaching, okay, this lesson? So that does not tell us that when you started this lesson, when you say I am teaching this lesson, right? But when you want to say I have been teaching, so you normally mention the time. I have been teaching for an hour, right? So, and this is how this tense is different from present continuous. Okay, now let's move on to past tenses. All right, so let's move on to past tenses. The first in past is past simple. Well, the structure of past simple is that with all kinds of subjects we use past tense form, or we call it the second form of the verb in traditional grammars, okay, or past tense form of the verb, right, object, and then if there is any adverb or extension we put it here, right? So with he, she, it, I, you, we, they, all subjects, singular or plural, in affirmative sentences, we use past tense form or the second form of the verb, right? Object on which the action is done. An extension normally is a definite time phrase. Normally we use, not always, but normally, definite time phrase is used with past simple tense. For example, I watched a new drama yesterday. Okay? I watched an exciting movie yesterday. Right? I read a very informative book few weeks ago. So few weeks ago again is a definite time phrase. Right? Well, coming to negative, with negative we use did not or didn't. Okay? With base form of the verb. Remember, we use first form of the verb or base form of the verb without s or es or ed, with in negative with did not. Alright? For example, I didn't see you for some time, or yesterday. I didn't meet you yesterday. Alright? So meet is the base form of the verb. We do not use past tense of the verb in negatives of past simple. Alright? And in questions, we start our questions with did. For example, did you watch a movie yesterday? Did you read your book yesterday? Okay? This is how we make questions. Well, coming to the usage, normally past tense or past simple is used to express or talk or write about those actions which happened in the past at some definite time. Right? So that's why we use definite time phrase. The other usage is sometimes, we use this tense to express a series of actions in the past. For example, he came into the classroom, sat down and opened his book. So 3 actions happened, in a series. All right, in a past, we also use past simple to express those actions. Again, we compare it with the present perfect. So in present perfect we studied has or have with past participle form of the verb. I did it or I have done. What's the difference, or how differently we use it? So again, as I told you, that in past simple we use definite time words. I did it yesterday, right? I met him few days ago. Or present perfect, I have met him before. I've seen you somewhere. So you don't mention the definite time when we use present perfect. For example, another example is, I worked for this school or I worked for this company for 2 years, and I have worked for this company for 2 years. What is the difference in meaning? When you use past simple, I worked for this company for 2 years, it means I do not work anymore, right? I have left the job, okay, at that company. But when you say I have worked for this company for 2 years, it means I started 2 years ago and still I am working. For example, I lived in this city for 6 months. So it means I do not live here anymore. But I have lived in this city means you started living 6 months ago and still you are living it. Okay? So this is the difference between present perfect and past simple. This is how we use them differently. In past continuous, just like simple, just like past present continuous, we use be verb. Okay, so with subject, instead of is am are, we use was or were. Okay, with ing form of the verb. Okay, so I was watching TV when somebody knocked at the door. Okay, so if we want to make negative, we'll simply use not, and for questions we'll start with was or were in the beginning, okay, of the sentence. Well, the usage of past continuous. Normally past continuous comes along with past simple in a sentence, and it tells us about, for example, this is the timeline. Some action was going on when it was interrupted by something else. So the action that interrupts, we use past simple. The action which was interrupted or which was in progress, we use past continuous for that. For example, if you remember, I gave you an example. I was watching TV when someone knocked at the door. So here we see in this sentence there are two clauses. One clause is in past continuous and the other clause is in past simple. So if you see, something was going on, I was watching TV when someone knocked at the door. So that action which comes as an interruption is expressed by past simple, and the action that was in progress is expressed in past continuous. Other examples, for example, I was reading a book when my mother called me. Okay, so I was reading a book, continuous action was in progress, and that interruption, okay, when my mother called. So that action which interrupts is expressed in past simple. Another usage is we express an action, two parallel actions in progress in the past with past continuous. For example, I was reading a book while my brother was playing video games. So two actions were in progress, okay, parallel actions in the past. Both these actions are expressed in past continuous. Okay. Well, these are the two main uses of past continuous: interrupted action and two parallel actions. Okay. The third usage could be the actions which was in progress at some time, at some specific time in the past. We also use past continuous. For example, you say, I was watching a movie at 4 p.m. yesterday. So this 4 p.m. yesterday works as an interruption. All right. So something that was in progress at some specific time. Okay. Last year at this time I was visiting my uncle. Okay. So we also use past continuous for such actions. Now let's move on to past perfect. Past perfect, we use had as a helping verb and third form of the verb, you may say. Okay, he had, I had, they had. Okay, with all singular or plural subjects we use had. Okay, with past participle form of the verb. Now remember that past perfect expresses the action that happened before something else, right? So normally two actions were completed in the past. The action that happened first in time, we use past perfect for that, and for the other action we again use past simple. For example, we say the class had started before I joined. So had started and joined. So one verb is in past perfect, the other verb is in past simple. So both the actions were completed in past. Okay, starting of a class and joining, both happened in the past, but this action happened first in time, so that's why we use past perfect for that. For the other action we simply use past simple. For example, say the guests had already left before I reached home. Okay, the movie had already finished before I reached the cinema. Okay, so all such examples where two actions happened in the past. Okay, the action that happened first in time we use past perfect, and for the other action we use past simple. So with subject we use had, and then we use been. We don't use past participle, we use present participle or ing form of the verb. Okay, I'd been watching a movie before I went out, right? Again, past perfect continuous is used along with some other tense, past simple normally. Again here, some action remained in progress for some time before something else happened. Remember, in past continuous we do not mention the time duration, but here we normally mention the duration. This is the difference between past continuous and past perfect continuous. For example, I was watching a drama when somebody knocked at the door. You did not mention the time. Or you say, I had been watching a drama for half an hour before somebody knocked at the door. Again, here something was in progress for some time, for some duration, we mention it, and before something else happened. This is the difference between past continuous and past perfect continuous. Okay, well, that's about past perfect continuous. Now let's move on to future. We'll quickly go to review the future tenses. Okay, now for future simple, we simply use will or shall. Well, shall is not widely used, but still in formal structures we use shall also with the base form of the verb. Okay, with first verb. Okay, future indefinite or prediction, for example, or when you make a decision at the time of speaking, we use will, right? For example, if there is a knock at the door, so I'll say, I'll open the door. Okay? So I made the decision while I was speaking. Okay? We use will. For prediction, the school, for example, it will rain tomorrow. If you want to make a prediction, we use will. Shall is normally used in more formal structures. Okay? In applications you might have seen, I shall be thankful to you. Okay? And there are other usage of shall. Well, for future continuous, we simply use be, right? Future continuous. We use be with ing form of the verb. I will be doing a lot of research next semester, for example. You might say any action which you expect will remain in progress, continuous for some time. In future, we use future continuous for that. Okay? Then future perfect. In future perfect, we use will have or shall have. Okay, we do not use has here. We always use have with third form of the verb, or you may call it past participle, right? So when you expect that something will have been completed in the future, so we use future perfect. We will have completed our course by coming February. Okay? I shall have watched 5 movies, by the end of the year or by the end of the month. Okay? So something which you expect that, is going to finish, in future, we use future perfect. Okay? For that. Now, coming to future perfect continuous, again, if you remember that something will remain in progress for some time before completing in the future, we use future perfect continuous. So here we use been and ing form of the verb. Okay? For example, I shall have been or I will have been watching a movie for 2 hours, okay, by the time my friends arrive. Okay, by the time my friends arrive. Okay, so again, we use shall have been or will have been with ing form of the verb, and we expect, for example, this is present, so in future, this action will remain in progress before something else is going to happen, right? So we use future perfect continuous for that. Okay? So this is all about the 12 tenses. So we use some other structures for future. For example, going to, be going to, with the first form of the verb is also used for future. For example, when something, if you want to express your intention, for future action, we use be going to with first form of the verb. For example, I'm going to visit my uncle next week. So you haven't made arrangements for that. It's just your intention. I'm going to play a match tomorrow. So it's just your intention. But when we use present continuous for future action, so normally we know that some arrangements are already made. I am visiting my uncle next week. Probably I have bought the ticket or I have informed him that I am visiting him. So if you have made the arrangements, we use present continuous for future actions. Okay? But if you haven't made the arrangements, it's just your intention for something in future, we use be going to. Alright? I am going to start a new chapter next week. We are going to start a new chapter next week. This is just our intention. But if we have made the arrangements, alright, so we'll say we are starting a new chapter next week. Okay? So this is the difference between be going to and present continuous for future. Right? So now as an homework, you just have to write 5 example sentences for each tense. Okay, so we studied 12 tenses. Okay, so you have to write 5 example sentences for each tense. That's your homework. You can do further research on the internet, about these tenses, their uses, and clarify. You can do, their exercises available online. Okay, so that you can, accurately use them. Okay, and in your notebook, write 5 example sentences for each tense. That is your homework. So that is all for today's class. We'll meet next week with some other grammar topic. Thank you and goodbye.